So I was watching YouTube the other day.
I saw you did you do sit with Andrew Wilson? That's one thing I would disagree with you doing, which is interesting. Like maybe that's the
Like
where the
talking to
debate
Andrew
will
Wilson?
happen.
What did I do now?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I just worry immediately for your safety in that moment
Why?
because of the fact that he's a racist. Andrew Wilson's a racist.
Andrew Wilson's a racist.
What?
I mean, he's admitted on live streams before on his podcast that he doesn't really believe in what he understands the modern version of consent to look like. And
Yeah, because it makes no sense and it's really fucking stupid. Can we get to the part where I'm actually this thing you just called me, though?
his entire career is built upon a foundational premise that you get clicks by bullying underage girls or
What? What underage girls? What the are you talking about?
who are underqualified to speak about political problems. And I'm not saying that that's you.
Underqualified to speak about political problems. I have a almost 10th grade education. Almost. Let's see how that stacks up against these who are underqualified to speak about these problems.
Not so erudite. She has an undergraduate in psychology and a graduate diploma in psychometrics. Is Naima. She's a senior at USC. Charlie. She received a master's degree in fantasy literature from the University of Glasgow and a BA in English from California State University, Sacramento. She received bachelor degrees in psychology and creative writing from Ivy League school, Brown University. She plans to pursue a graduate degree in public policy. She graduated from University of Florida with a triple major, getting her BS in psychology and BA in philosophy and economics. She will be receiving her bachelor's in psychology.
May.
Which university, or if you don't want to? No worries. She will be receiving her bachelor's in psychology in May.
I'm a political science major. I graduated with a psychology major recently.
I graduated from FIU, Florida International University, with a double bachelor's in international relations and political science.
I'm Deborah Leah. I'm from New York City. I'm 24 years old, and I have a bachelor's degree in government and politics.
Any education?
Yes, I am college educated. I have my bachelor's.
Hi, I'm Millie Weaver. I'm a conservative journalist, big on YouTube, Millennial Millie on YouTube, and I'm also a co-founder of a tech company called QUX.
My IQ technically is at 140, so is it higher? 143?
By the way, the song only lasted so long. The list is quite exhaustive of women who are far more educated than me, who I debate, and men. So what the f are you talking about, moron?
I actually don't think that that is you at all. And I think that he went out on a limb when he debated you because that's not usually the type of person that he would engage with.
Tilly lying again. No, Tilly, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but it's actually the opposite. Many shows have reached out to Kyla to do debates with me in the past, and she has turned them down over and over again, a thing which she will not even deny, because I have all of the proof. You're wrong. You're wrong. And you're dumb.
But like, I think that that's for the men. I think Andrew Wilson is for the men.
Now, I may not be the smartest man in the room, but I'm pretty confident that she just got done saying that They're dumb. I think that that's her actual position here.
To tackle, because his audience are so. I mean, I've probably watched 20 hours or more.
No, you haven't, you lying sack of dog. Don't lie. I know you're about to lie. You always do. People always do that. You're about to tell a big fib.
Of his podcast, and I've been approached before to come on whatever, and I just said no because.
And this is how you know old Tilly is telling a Tilly lie. How could you watch 20 hours of the podcast and still declare that it's my podcast? It belongs to Brian Atlas, and I guest on it sometimes and do debates on it sometimes. Gutless, lying, filthy, degenerate, progressive scumbags.
I don't think there's any winning, and that's yeah. So I would want you to speak to your experience of that, because I was frankly not gonna go and sit in a room with a bunch of men who don't believe in consent. I was.
Or what? What do you think is going to happen? First of all, when you say modern consent, we're talking about how progressives view consent, and they're lunatics. Literally like you. They're lunatics like you are. But secondly, what do you think's going to happen? Do you think they're going to like throw you up on the table and have their way with you in the middle of Santa Barbara, California, while the cameras are rolling live? Is that what you think, Tilly?
Spooked.
Yeah. It feels, correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like a commentary on platforming in general. And I have very mixed thoughts about platforming, and maybe you disagree. Maybe it is not a platforming. And so correct me. Am I misunderstanding you and saying it somewhat feels
maybe a little?
No, Kyla, you adult. She's not talking about platforming. She's literally saying that she's afraid that she's going to go down to Santa Barbara, California to do a debate and is going to be ravaged by the hordes of men who can't control themselves because they don't believe in modern forms of consent.
Okay.
Maybe a little, because I'm not big on the argument of you platforming, you're legitimizing these ideas. I think that that's actually a really complex and nuanced topic that people slap a big thought terminating cliche on. You're legitimizing, you're doing this. I was genuinely just worried that a woman was engaging in the debate. I think that in this instance, when it comes to men like this, it should be a man who engages in that particular debate. And also, I was literally worried for your physical safety. I'm worried for the physical safety of the women who go in person to these podcast environments. I've heard.
Well, Tilly, I wouldn't worry about it. Kyla was so unconcerned about her safety that she brought a case of beer for me into the studio before the debate started and said, I brought this for you because I heard you really like beer. Which is true. A very thoughtful gift of Kyla, in fact. Anyway, I assume that she didn't think that, the person you're calling the R word here. Would you bring a person you thought was the R word a case of beer? I mean, drunk and the R word together? How could I ever possibly control myself, Tilly? Of course, the entire premise is built on the fact that I think if my wife wakes me up with that's not SA. That's not the R word. I know, I get it. I understand. Something's wrong in my head. I honestly don't believe that when my wife wakes me up, I'm dead asleep. I'm completely unconscious to the world. If she wakes me up with I don't think it's the R. I'm sorry, I don't. I know. My ideas are out there, man.
Horror stories of them forcing you to film for 8-9 hours and then promising you reimbursement, but then they're dragging out the debate until they get until they're satisfied, and only then will they reimburse you. And people
Who is they? I don't negotiate any of these things because it's not my show, and I don't give a what the get paid or don't get paid there. It's none of my business. What the are you talking about, Tilly? What does this have to do with me? And what does it have to do with the horrific R word? What? Nothing.
Have been stranded out in the desert trying to get back home because of I've heard horror stories from so many. Obviously, I'm not going to put them on blast here, but
Yeah, I mean, why do that when then the people could see that there may be another side to whatever those stories are, and perhaps those who are done so dirty may not be being particularly honest about the circumstances in which they found themselves in. Maybe that's the case. But I mean, why tell anybody that? Why actually allow a person to defend themselves from allegations when you can just be sneaky and go behind everybody's back and pretend it's true, even though you present no evidence that it is at all?
Who've spoken to me personally about their experiences, and none of them have been good. So that was, I disagreed with you going because I was just thinking, oh, what is she doing? Nothing to do with platforming, you know?
Yeah.
So, okay, I've had some bad experiences on whatever, according to Tilly. Let's just grant that it's true. What the does that have to do with the R word? What does that have to do with anything? Nothing. Has nothing to do with anything. It's just well poisoning. Very typical female behavior, by the way.
Yeah. So I suppose in my experience, I have a pretty decent working relationship with Brian Atlas, the host. He repaid me. So we negotiated ahead of time that he was going to pay for travel and stay. And he reimbursed me within 24 hours. So I had no reimbursement issues. Afterwards, he offered to take me out for food. He got food on set, but I've definitely never felt for even a second physically under threat from either of these individuals, like in no way, shape or form. In fact,
for those of you who are expecting a lot more pushback from Kyla, don't be silly. So almost any time Kyla is met with a moral decision and there's something material to be gained, she almost always will universally make the wrong decision. This is why many people on Twitch used to point at her and call her, and still do, they call her Kyla Maxwell because of her relationship with Destiny and trying to, at least the allegation is, hush up Pixie in the background as she was making the various accusations that Destiny was, without consent, sharing her videos, her sex videos with Destiny. So this is all alleged. I'm not saying that this is true. I'm just pointing out that this allegation is there, and it seems to have at least some evidence which backs it up. So, never seen Kyla make a good moral decision, not even one time. Never seen it. Whenever she has the opportunity to do the right thing, she almost always universally does exactly the opposite of what the right thing is. So, you should not have high expectations for Kyla. I don't. Now, let's check in on what some other creators are saying about this situation on the old YouTube.
Now, again, I'm not even an Andrew Wilson fan.
That's a good thing. I've been trying to get rid of my female fan base for years, and no matter how much I try, I can't seem to do it. It's because of the voice. Sexiest voice on TikTok, baby.
I've been very critical of Andrew Wilson in the past.
Mean.
But one thing that I'm not about to criticize Andrew Wilson for is for being something that he's not.
Careful, that's precariously close to a logical reasoned position.
Andrew Wilson is a lot of things. He's an asshole.
Hey.
He's inflammatory. He's provocative.
Really not any of those things. I just say what's obvious and factual. And feminists and crazy all over the internet lose their minds. That's what's actually true. So, what's the resolution here, ultimately? Well, here's the resolution. I'm a reasonable man. What Tilly said here was unconscionable, and it was horrendous. What I would like for Tilly to do is just make a public video apologizing. It doesn't have to be something in-depth, anything like that. Just retract the allegation, then apologize and let people know you got the facts wrong. That's all I'm asking for. Nothing major. Now, I'm doing this in the spirit of charitability. I want to be as charitable as I possibly can. Perhaps she got many of her facts wrong due to the fact that she's just a moron. This does happen, and I'm willing to see past it. However, this is very slanderous and a horrible thing to say about a person. And I am actually willing. I've never one time engaged in lawfare. I have been sued, frivolous lawsuits, because people think that I'm loaded or something, but I have never sued anybody. and I wanted to go my whole life without doing it. But in this case, I will follow action with lawsuit. I did speak to an attorney. They think I have a pretty good case, but I'm going to be completely honest with everybody. If it is the case that I raise money for this lawsuit, do not get your hopes up. Defamation is notoriously difficult to prove, and so is slander. UK standards are a bit better, but it's difficult to do. So don't get your hopes up. I'm just going to be totally upfront and honest with you. If I pursue a lawsuit, the reason I'm doing it is due to the principle of the thing. In this case, I fully believe 100% that a woman who will say these things on a random podcast is about an individual who they've never met, they don't know anything about, will pursue that, and there's a higher than null likelihood that they will paint other men as being this thing who cannot defend themselves. They don't have the same platform that I do. And so I consider this to be a moral obligation. So I'm going to give her a week. It's the 15th today. I'm going to give her a week. That's 7 days to issue the apology, and then I'll move on, and nobody will ever have to talk about it again, right? I'm a very charitable person, very forgiving person. But if that's not the case and she refuses to correct the record, she's doubling down, um, then yeah, I think it's perfectly appropriate to pursue legal action, and I will to the fullest extent of the law, including if it's criminal in the UK, which this very well may be, according to the attorneys that I've talked to there. So it's your choice, Tilly. 100% your choice. So that's what I'm asking for. I think it's completely reasonable. I don't think that Tilly will actually do it because, they always double down, right? People always double down. But those are the facts. So if I put up a GoFundMe and you give to the GoFundMe, there's two things to note there. The first is that I will pursue this as long as there's an avenue to pursue it. My attorneys say there's no more point in pursuing this. I'm not going to, and I will keep the money. And I'll just make that clear. If we go through it and there's no more avenue to go, I'm keeping the difference in cash. I don't know what else to even do at that point. So there's that. The second thing is that that's more likely than not. However, what I will give my word on is that as long as there is an avenue for pursuing legal recourse, and because I believe that there's a moral obligation to do so, I'm going to do it until that is no longer available. But that's going to be up to me and not up to you. So do not give if in any way this, conflicts or has some conflict with your moral paradigms or something like this. But that's what I'm going to be doing. Moving over to Destiny. Destiny put out a tweet saying that he would give $100,000 to the defense of Tilly if she was sued for her obvious slanderous and insane and irresponsible comments. This was echoed by America, who Destiny has been a part of. I'm not sure if he is now. I'm guessing probably, but I don't know that for sure. But just remember that this is a spokesman for a progressive organization which really hates my guts in a big way because I wreck all of their members all the time in debates, and they look really stupid. Now, I'm just going to point this out so that you understand the blatant insanity of all of this. Destiny is under accusation of sharing a photography that he shot at home, a tape that he shot at home, to another woman who he was interested in sparking a relationship up with, and did this without the consent of the woman he shot the original tape with. Pixie, who's a woman I know, I've debated her before. The overwhelming irony of an organization which would enhance that they would defend a who made the accusation that I am the R word, while their mascot and head of their organization is alleged to have done these horrible things in regards to consent and is widely known on the internet allegedly as a pest. They call him Pestiny for a reason, due to the fact that he's been accused of impropriety, I don't know how many times, with how many different, many of them, by their own admission, mentally ill. Now, of course, this is all alleged, but the lore there is very deep, and much of it he wouldn't even run away from. Versus me. I have not ever even had an accusation of impropriety. I'm not even talking about the R word or SA or any of that. I haven't even had an accusation of impropriety from any online ever, because there is no impropriety to accuse me of. This is before we ever get to inappropriate touching or any of the crazy that men often are accused of. I've not even been accused of having an inappropriate text message. And yet the organization, which is enhancing this message, the organization which has a mascot who's under accusation for consent-based crimes, this is the organization that wants to fight me tooth and nail. This is why I tell you progressives are lunatics. They're lunatics. Lastly, my online presence is significant. I understand that. I often do what I can to minimize its impact on other people. I often enhance much smaller creators than myself to give them an opportunity, even if they're on the opposite side of the political spectrum. I've always been this way. I'm going to ask now for your help. For content creators, even who may hate my guts, and maybe they hate my guts because I beat them in a debate or any number of different things, it doesn't really matter. What I'm asking you for here is to enhance this message, get it out to as many people as possible. And the reason that I'm asking that is because I think that we have a moral duty to do so. We have to fight back, and we have to start holding people accountable, especially women accountable, because now they're moving past Me Too into a post Me Too era, where now they'll make accusations that you're the R word without even having the accusation of a victim, without ever even providing a single shred of evidence of even impropriety. Nothing. That sets a dangerous precedent. And so what I'm asking all of you is that you know that one of you eventually is going to be up next, and you may not have the same platform to fight back that I do. Because of that, I think that it's important that we attack this now, ahead of the curve. Like it or not, like me or not, we need to send a message. And it needs to be brutal, and it needs to be scathing, and it needs to be, we're not putting up with this shit anymore. To that end, mobilizing the Crucible crew to go and send this message far and wide. Let every content creator know it's time to fight back.